Hey, what's up, guys? We got John Fodera back. We're going to talk about lending again. It's such a thing. It's such a pivotal thing to increase your business to scale. You need to outsource it. You need to bring an expert in like John. Too many people try to figure it out. Google, how do I get business credit? It's the wrong way. I did it too. You got to talk to an expert in how to do it. So John's going to kind of go through today. We're going to kind of bang this into all of our heads is what are the things you need to do to make yourself like an attractive person to lend to over in 6 months?
Yeah.
So let's just start with people who are kind of whatever it is businesses that are in business 2 years and they say, hey, in March, I want to get $200,000 worth of credit lines, or I'm going to be buying a bunch of equipment next March. What do you need to do today, and what are the steps they should start taking today?
Awesome. Hey, Kevin, thanks for having me on. I always love coming on and speaking with your group. So before we go over what we should be doing over the next 6-12 months, I want you guys to think about a couple things. What are some of the challenges everyone's facing? Labor shortages, material cost increases, just cost increases across the board because of inflation, right? Now, I'm not going to get political, whether it's intentional or not. It's fucking intentional. But you guys want to prepare and put yourself in the best possible position, right? Now, I have a lot of growth strategies that when times are tough, work. And when times are great, they work even more, okay? That's stuff that you need to know and be implementing in your businesses. But from a true bank perspective, like how do you put yourself in the best position to thrive over the next 6, 12, and 18 months? All right, I'm going to give you guys actionable steps at the end of this call. Kevin's going to drop my link in. It's a calendar link, okay? Book time with me. It'll be a free review. The only thing I ask, don't waste my time. Get me everything I need right away so we can have a 30-minute one-on-one. And I'll work with you guys to show you where you're strong, where you're weak, and we'll map out what the next 6, 12, 18 months look like for you and get you guys in the right position to really, really thrive. I mean, this is what I enjoy doing. Okay.
Hey, John, so if you drop if they want to do a calendar link, are you going to reach out to them and tell them what they need for your meeting?
Yep. Okay. I'll tell you guys right now what you're going to need. Okay.
Right.
This is important. It's a one-page application from DocuSign. It's going to be the last 6 months of banks. If you accept credit cards, 2 months of those. And you're going to need the last 2 years of tax returns. And also, if you have an AR report, send that in. And then I want you guys to send me a wish list. Like, it could be an email. Just, hey, this is what I'm trying to do to expand over the next, call it 6 or 24 months. You guys send all that stuff to me. It's enough for me to actually sit down, analyze it with my team, and give you guys a really good roadmap and blueprint so you guys can absolutely crush it while everyone else is fucking getting destroyed. Okay?
I'm going to put that in a Google Doc in the comments too, what John needs for the call. Boom, just knock it out.
Yep. And if you guys have year-to-date financials, that would help too. All right? It's very important you guys have that, especially in the business you guys are in. Now, next, let's go into basic steps on how to set yourself up. 1, you have to know your credit. Stupid, simple, and easy. Sign up for Credit Karma. It's wrong, okay? Credit Karma is absolutely wrong, but it will allow you to know if there's been a drastic change, okay? Ideally, you want your credit to be 680 or above. If it's not, don't worry about it. Like, there's programs for everybody, all right? But if you want to thrive, you need to be at least 680 or above. Next, you want you to have strong business credit, okay? Business credit works on a scale of 0 to 100. You really want to be 80 or above, all right? I'll go through that with you as well on these reviews. Business credit's a little bit harder to monitor. I prefer you monitor it on DMB. Do not sign up for NAV. If you sign up for NAV, your information is going to be resold and you're going to be called and pitched for all these different predatory products.
What's that called? NAV?
NAV. Do not sign up with NAV. All right? DMB. Next, you want to look at your cash flow. Okay? And cash flow comes in a lot of different forms. I know it sounds weird, right? But when you're looking at it from a banking perspective, they want to see how many deposits you have. Okay. They want to see what amount is actually going in the bank, if you have any negative days, and how much do you typically keep in the bank. Okay. Most fintech companies look at that, and banks look at that as well. All right. That's really, really important. And I'll show you guys how to look at that when we do a review. We put everything in a cash flow analysis to kind of show you what your business actually looks like over a 6 to 12 month period. It's really cool stuff. All right. Next, what's your AR look like? Okay. Do you have AR that's been uncollectible? Is your team actually doing the right thing and invoicing on time? All right. That's very important if you are a B2B company, right? And then you want to look at your returns. All right. Now, when you're filing taxes, I'm not a tax expert. Okay. But basically, if you don't claim it, you don't get credit for it. All right. I want to say that again. If you don't claim it, you don't get credit for it. So if you are writing down every year to zero or a loss, and you try to get usually if you try to get a traditional SBA loan, not this quick one that I have. The quick one's great, by the way. But if you want more than 150K at a time, or you want to buy a building, I know a lot of people are looking to buy buildings right now. You need to be able to show profitability. All right. The rule of thumb with SBA is for every 45,000 you claim in profit, you can get 350K over 10 years. So that's the basis of the review. Now, what else are we going to look for? Well, a lot of people need to have comparable debt. If you are in a heavy equipment business, or you need trucks, or you need anything like that, building comparable debt is going to help you. The rule of thumb with comparable debt is, let's say you finance a ditch witch. I've been doing more of those than I know what to do with. I don't know why. It's just super in demand. It could be a bobcat. Doesn't matter. You finance a ditch witch for, let's say, 100,000. Once you make 12 payments on it, it counts towards comparable debt. What comparable debt means is when you go and try to get another piece of equipment, at the bare minimum, you can get 2 times your comparable debt. So now, if you have $100,000 of comparable debt, everything else looks good, you can at least get a piece of equipment that's 200,000. All right. That's why I tell everybody, if you have these smaller pieces of equipment like trucks, trailers, things that aren't really that expensive, 15,000, 25,000, 30,000, it's very important to finance those. Why? Because what you're doing is you're building comparable debt. And then when the time comes and you need to go out and get a much larger piece of equipment, you're going to get the best rate and term possible. So these are just some of the things we're going to look at scale and plan out for you over the next, call it 6 to 24 months.
Hey John, just to go back on that, when you said if you had $45,000 of profit, you could get $350,000 on an SBA loan for buying a building.
No. Just working capital.
Wow. Because that formula is like 7.77 times.
Yep.
So if somebody had $100,000 of profit, they could probably go out and get 770,000.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct.
That's a lot.
And here's the thing: when they're looking at buying a building, I'm glad you mentioned that, Kevin. Thank you. When you're looking at acquiring a building, there's other factors that come into play. First off, the formula I just gave you was on a traditional 7A, which runs 10 years. If you're buying a building, you can actually use a 7A to buy a building, and they'll go out like 20, 25 years. And some of the things that they're going to be looking at is, all right, what are your profit margins? Okay. Number one. Number two, what's your current rent? All right. So let's say you're renting a facility and it's $6,000 a month, and you are going to buy a similar facility or maybe a larger facility, and it's going to, that mortgage payment or that loan payment is only going to be $5,000 a month. That's an easy stamp, right? If your credit matches up, everything's good, and the margin's there, they already know that you can pay $6,000 a month. So you lowering your cost, your monthly nut to $5,000, that's a no-brainer, right? And so I have a lot of people right now coming in and working on buying properties or buildings?
I'll use, because this is kind of selfish reasons, because I was just talking to my CPA today. So one thing I'm trying to do is to avoid, to get massive depreciation to offset my taxes.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I have equipment and stuff, but I don't really need a big facility. But I'm looking to maybe buy like a storage facility, store my stuff in there in the Atlanta area, and then have massive amounts of other people paying rent.
Mm-hmm.
So I really want to look at, so what, say a $4 million storage unit, a big one, nice. What would I need to put down on that? What would I need to show? And then how much does it have to be owner operated, if that makes sense?
Those are great questions. If you're going to go SBA, this is only SBA. If you want commercial or something else, throw this out the window. I tell people 20%, that's not accurate. I have a bank that'll do it at 10, but I always will tell you worst case scenario.
Okay.
So let's say worst case scenario, 20%. Now, to qualify for an SBA, you need to be able to prove or show that you're going to occupy 51% of it.
Okay.
Okay.
So since I'm not going to do 51%, what would be our strategy on this? We go through a regular bank, do 25% down.
I would still tell you to do the SBA. I would actually just say, hey, we're going to occupy 51%, and then you write leases for the 49%. Because what will happen is when you get those leases written for the 49%, that they can kind of credit that back.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
That'd be nice. If I got that 10% down, that'd be cool.
Yeah. That's
massive depreciation too, that offset a lot of taxes though.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were discussing it today.
Here's the other items there when you guys are doing this. You need about 120 days to close.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So you have to, first off, I can't even look at something like that without a purchase contract.
Right.
Okay? They won't underwrite it without that. Second, you want 120 days to close because that is a much more in-depth process.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But if those two things are worked out, you should be good to go. And most of the commercial guys understand that it takes a little bit longer to get those approved and closed. I would just make sure you guys know that. And for like a tax strategy, right? You guys can always purchase heavy duty equipment, especially end of the year. Like one of the things that we're ramping up right now on my YouTube is all these videos that have to do with equipment financing. Why? Because smart business owners right now are purchasing a ton of equipment to get the write-offs for the year.
Mm-hmm. That's really helpful. So you got to articulate that to the seller when you're buying it. Say, hey, I can't tell them I'm going to close in 60 days because you're not.
No.
You got to tell them, hey, it's going to be 120 days out. This is the price and all that, so that you can do your work. Yeah, because a lot of people want to like say they're going to close way faster, and then they get themselves in trouble.
It happens way more frequently than you think.
Yeah, I see that with guys buying businesses where I don't even know them. I just see them in the comments and they're like, yeah, I got this business under, I'm going to close in 45 days. And I'm like, you're not
closing in 45 days.
All you're going to do is piss off the seller and it's going to kill the deal. But
exactly.
if you were, the seller is going to have more confidence in you if you say, hey, I know I'm going to get this done in 120 days. This is why then the guy can make his own decision on it.
Exactly.
They want to close. They want to close.
Yeah. Cause they don't want their time wasted either. You know what I mean? So the other thing I want to kind of articulate here is the biggest takeaway besides getting yourself in position is a couple of the items I want to touch on. Every single business should have a line of credit. Okay. There is no excuse not to have a line of credit. You will need it in the upcoming months and basically the next 2 years. Next, use the right type of financing for what you're trying to accomplish. All right. Most people don't grasp that, and banks certainly don't understand what financing instrument should be used to solve what problem. Here's how I know that. I went to a local bank here. It's actually a pretty big bank. It was SunTrust, now it's Truist. And I had a conversation with the branch manager, right? I'm like, hey, you guys offer lines of credit? What do you offer your business? Your business accounts. They go, well, one, we don't really offer it. We try to get them to take a HELOC. That's a horrible idea. And two, I said, well, do you know about invoice factoring? Do you know about equipment financing? They go, the manager told me he knows it, but none of his guys know it. So think about that. You're walking into your trusted quote unquote source and they don't know what to help you with. That's like you going into the emergency room, because you have a cut and them giving you an MRI on your chest and the cut's on your foot instead of stitching you up.
Yeah.
Right. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. Imagine getting a home equity line of credit for your business when you could have been using factoring. That's insane.
Yeah, exactly.
You're risking your family's home.
Yeah. Insane. So like one of the things I like to go over is like a general rule of thumb is you should be paying for whatever it is. The financing program should run as long as you're using it. What I mean by that is a line of credit is there for emergencies and quick opportunities. It's there for adding staff, it's there for supplies, inventory, and marketing, right? Why? Because you need that shit every single month. Okay, so you use the line of credit, you pay it off. You use it, you pay it off. That's how you keep expenses down and interest down. Equipment. You don't want to put equipment on a line of credit. Why? Because you're using that equipment over the course of 5, hopefully 10 years. So you want to finance it at least over 3 to 5 years and build that comparable debt. The same way, when you're buying a building, you don't want to buy a building and have a 10-year loan on it. You want 20 to 30 years on it. Okay? So you have to mix and match what program you're going to use to solve what challenge in your business, right? Invoice factoring is something that no one knows anything about. And most people that want invoice factoring think they want a line of credit. You really need invoice factoring because you're going to outgrow a line of credit. So set up the invoice factoring and then get a line of credit, right? And invoice factoring, all that does is turn your net 15, net 30, net 45 receivables into money as soon as that invoice is sent out at stupid low cost.
Yeah.
Okay. And it doesn't get any easier. The challenge is most people don't have somebody that can educate them on how to structure their business properly and what programs go where, right? So in our review, all I'm going to do is figure out where you stand, where you're trying to go, and let's bridge that gap.
Well, let's talk about that factoring. I don't know if you ended up talking to Chris about it.
I did. That is a very cool situation.
Yeah.
It's very unusual because I have personally never done a situation like this. But I think we're pretty close to figuring it out.
That's great. So to give the listeners what that is this is somebody's in blue collar millionaire. And he asked me about buying a landscape business. He's buying one for like 1.2 million. His fear is that the owner currently has cash flow issues because he does a lot of the same communities I do, apartment complexes, bigger ones, business to business. I know all about this. He almost was thinking of not buying the business. It's a steal of a deal. And he's thinking of not buying it because of that. So I was telling him about factoring. He didn't really know anything about it. And then what everybody always goes to, wait, could I tell the clients that they're going to get mad or they feel like they're going to be embarrassed? Like I need to do it. I mean, I have hundreds and hundreds I do it with. I didn't have one person say anything to me.
Yeah.
They expect it.
It's common. So I want to explain what invoice factoring does and what problem it solves. As you're growing a business, especially rapid growth, it doesn't matter what kind of growth, but especially rapid growth. If you are net 15, if you are net 30, net 45, think about this. Let's say your average transaction is $10,000. Well, out of that $10,000, you probably have about 30% profit, okay? That's being generous. It could be lower, it could be more. You have to outlay at least 50%, right? So you're outlaying materials, you're spending money on marketing to acquire that. You're spending labor costs, which is probably the majority of it, okay? So you're outlaying $5,000 and then you're waiting 30 days to get paid the 10,000. And out of that $10,000, only 3,000 is profit. So what this does is, as you're taking on more and more of these jobs, you're always running into a cash flow crunch. Now, if you get a loan or a line of credit or anything like that, the numbers are the same. So you're going to burn through that line of credit, you're going to burn through that loan, and just have an extra payment. And because you're growing, it's just going to exaggerate the problem, right? The problem isn't going away. It's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If you use a invoice factoring, what you're doing is, as soon as you complete the work, they're going to give you like 90%, 85 to 90% of that invoice. So let's say $8,500, worst case scenario. And now you're getting that $8,500, and that $1,500 is held in reserve. Okay. And then once your client pays, they release the reserve minus the fee. The fee is usually 1 to 4% per 30 days. So it's only costing you between $100 and $400 to get your money now to be able to scale infinitely. Okay. And then you can still get the line of credit, you could still get the loan, and you use the line of credit and the loan for what it's intended for, which is for growth and short-term things. A loan is not. A loan is going to be, acquisitions or just equipment or something longer term, but the line of credit's for the shorter term things. So it's you putting the pieces of the puzzle together so you don't have to lose sleep at night. When's this money coming in, right? Well, how do I grow? How do I scale? How do I solve these problems? And it's all easy, right? And this is basic math. This is facts. Like, you can't debate this, okay? The problem is nobody knows it because nobody is actually in the weeds. Banks don't give a shit, on this. All they care about is your money is in their bank and they're lending it out and paying you peanuts on it.
It takes a lot of mental space. It took a lot of mental space for me for a lot of years, where you can spend hours figuring, all right, I have to do it like this, and then I'm going to have this much cash in, and then I got to quickly get deposits in to cover this. It's ridiculous.
You're calling up clients. Hey, can you send this over to me? And
I will go as far as to say, I don't want factoring companies to hear this, but if they were charging even double, I would do it.
Yeah.
But they're not. That's what it is. They can charge double and it would still make sense to me to do it.
And not only that, but think about it. There's very little risk for you, if any. And it's just as cheap, if not cheaper, than a line of credit. And it's just peace of mind.
The peace of mind is the biggest thing. If you spend all that mental gymnastics that you were doing before, going out and getting more clients that you now know you're not even worried about because you have cash all the time.
Yep.
You'll end up making a lot more. That's what happened to me.
It's the biggest thing I see with business owners, right? Is as a business owner, we're all like this. Okay. I have several businesses. The least amount of things that we have to focus on, and the more that we have a team doing and all we have to do is check on, the more successful we're going to be. Okay. It's a paradox too. It's like the dichotomies of leadership, right? As a business owner, you can do something the best, but if you want to grow and scale, you need somebody operating at least 80% of what you can do, and you just checking in. And we all go through this. Right? You want to focus on what you enjoy and what you're good at. So if you have stress in the back of your mind about, hey, am I going to make payroll because we took on 5 more accounts or 10 more accounts this month and we're waiting for them to come in, that is a fucking horrible, horrible feeling. And what happens is you being in that position opens you up to make mistakes, right? That's where you take very expensive money. And you know what? I see way too many people snowball with that. And by the time they get to me, it's very hard to save.
They're reactive and not proactive.
Exactly.
The only reason you take the very expensive money is because you weren't proactive. If you had gone back and listened to John 6 months, a year before, you probably wouldn't have had that problem.
That's the goal.
Got to have a strategy in place, just like anything. Tax strategy, got to have a loan lending banking relationship in place. I think it's really good what you said about Truist Bank. You go in there and these guys don't even know how to help you.
No.
They just know that, hey, these are 3 products. home equity line is they love it. It's safe. They want to just jam that down your throat. I remember I was with PNC Bank and they were always trying to like, oh, take a home equity line. I was like, why would I want to do that?
Absolutely not. That's your nest egg.
What else do you have? Business lending. They're like, no, we just like to do it with the home equity line. I remember they were always telling me, I'm like, I ended up switching banks. That was one of the reasons. They couldn't help me.
Think about this, Kevin. They're not aligned and incentivized to help you. Okay. If you close let's say your home equity line of credit or not, it doesn't matter to them. Truth be told, it matters a lot to me. First off, I just care about helping people. I want to see you guys grow and thrive. And two, I only get paid if you get your problem solved.
Yep.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
That's the truth.
And that's why you're setting it up on, hey, have this stuff ready for me. So if you're wasting your time, I can help you or not. And if you can't, you're going to tell them real quick. You need to fix these things. Yeah.
And guys, here's the deal. Like, let's just say you're somebody that's borderline first off, I've worked with so many different coaches, so many high-end people that are all over the fucking internet. It stays between me and you, number one. Number two, if shit's wrong, it's like going to the doctor. You don't want to wait until you're fucking dead or you're out of business. Yeah. So if you are having issues, don't think you can't work with me. What we're going to do is I'm going to say, hey, these 3 things are fucked up. Here's how you go and get them solved, right? And I have reputable people that I can connect you with that will actually do the right job, okay? And then you come back to me in 6 months, be like, dude, you saved my ass. Now I want to grow, and we'll work on whatever you need at that point, okay? But if you are somebody that is borderline, you probably need it just as much as the guy that's ready to, go acquire a business or, double or triple over the next 6 months.
Opportunity to grow. John, thanks for telling us all this stuff. I'm going to put in, write that document up. I have my assistant put in the things they need to schedule the calendar call with you. And then John and I were talking about before this, John's going to be at our mastermind in January in Miramar Beach. Well, hopefully we're going to do a yacht because it's not too cold. We'll see. But we're going to hang out. John's can talk to you about all the different stuff. He'll speak about things like he is now. It's such I just know in this industry, I don't want to call out blue collar guys. I can, I guess, because I am one. We don't do this. We wait till the last second, and then we try to get some line of credit. We go on Google. It's too late.
Yep.
Act like you're going to be in business in a year. What would you want to do so that you can be making twice as much in a year? One of the things is outsource this. Find somebody. John can help you do it. He did it with me. It's everything you said, just what we were talking about, that line of credit going up to 110 at that lock. Yeah. We had that conversation. You told me that would happen.
Yeah.
And now here we are. I didn't
12, what is it, 12 months? 12 months?
Yeah, we're at like 11 months or whatever. Whatever their review is, I guess it's 12 now.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a big increase. It's like 40%.
Yeah.
I didn't ask. No. They just gave it. But I did the principles of how you said, hey, do it like this, and this is likely to happen.
That's all we could do.
Listen to people who know more than you about anything. This is what you do all day, every day.
Yeah.
But and then John, you and I'll set up a call with you too, because I want to talk about that, how I can take down a facility.
Cool.
And do that as well.
That'll definitely be interesting. I like working on that.
The
unusual stuff.
It's going to be 2023, so we'll have time to do it. But we'll start working on that early on in the year. But we can start planning on a thing, and I know I'm going to take one down. It's going to be a great thing to use that depreciation against my profits, and then I'm having other people pay down my debt. It's like a built-in retirement package. Yet another one. I love it. So
you can't go wrong with real estate. You really can't. If you have a 10-year view, you'll never go wrong. Ever.
What's that? A what?
A 10-year view on real estate. So if
you look at any 10-year market, you did fine.
Yeah.
It's just the people who say, well, I bought something in 2006. I had to get rid of it in 2009. Well, you would have been fine in 2016.
Yeah.
That was the worst time ever.
I think the biggest challenge with real estate is they're not you need to make sure it cash flows. You need to make sure there's multiple rents coming in. Like I'm telling you right now, the next 6 to 24 months, shit's gonna go haywire. Like the economy, everything. If you have multiple rents coming in, you'll at least cover the mortgage. And once we get out of this, forget it. It's gonna be boom.
Yeah.
But there's a lot that has to take place between now and then. So tactful, smart planning will make you millions over the next 6 to 12 months.
All right, John. Just shoot me an email with your calendar link. I think I got it on Facebook Messenger, but I'm going to put those notes in there, and then we'll have you on again. We'll talk about a different problem. All right. Thanks so much, John.
I appreciate you, brother. Thanks for having me.